All right, so let's start putting these pillars, these pieces of the puzzle together. So you're going to look at them in their own right, and then you can use your imagination about how it comes together collectively. Now, I know it's tiny, so I'm going to gradually take those off the screen and I'll show you them in larger form. But what we're looking at here are the four pillars of the Business Clarity Code. So we've got the brand accelerator report and playbook. We've got we haven't got the business. Yes, we have got the business soul plan, business name soul plan. The one we haven't got a picture of is the archetypes. We've also got the business in a box, which is the business strategy readings. And then we've got a couple of testimonials from how people have found those individual pillars. And with the business clarity code, it's not one, it's not two, it's not three, but it's four of those pillars. Now, what I'm going to show you are the individual pillars. And this is a bit like a gestalt, where the whole is far greater than the sum of its parts. So let's start breaking it down. So which one are we going to start with? Because I'm going to reduce these down so what we've got, before I take them all off the screen again, we've got the client who had paid £4,000 or £5,000, which is in the region of $6,000 to $7,000 for a report. We did, and it took 5 days. The report we did took 90 minutes, so an hour and a half, and it was £60 because I was beta testing for my e-newsletter list. And what we prepared together was on par with what had taken 5 days and cost £5,000. So that's one of them. We've also got the feedback from the first person who did this iteration of the business name soul plan reading. So I'll share their testimonials with you, but it included the words wow and spot on and accurate. I'll show you how somebody has used the brand accelerator report and playbook in terms of an actual project they were working on. And I'll also give you the feedback from the business strategy in a box session. And I'll let you have a look-see at the business aim soul plan reading, just so you get a sense of, now it doesn't look like this when you get it as a written report, but I've put it as a sort of almost like a graphic, just so you can see what's included. And then we'll look at the whole thing as we bring it together. And all of this is exclusively tailored for you. But let us begin. So I'm going to hold on. Right, I'm going to take these off the screen just so it gets a wee bit bigger, and then you can see what we're looking at, and then we'll go back through these individually. Right, there we go. There we go. There we go. And hide that one, and then make that one bigger. So reduce me down. All right, so here it is. So when I was beta testing the brand accelerator report and playbook, so this one runs to approximately 52 to 58 pages. However, it's all broken down, very easy to just go in and pull the information from the segment you're interested in. So if you want to look at your SWOT analysis, so yourself or your competitors, you go to that section. If you want the ADA strategy, you go to that section. If you want to look at the SEO recommendations, you go to that section. If you want to look at the marketing plan, you go to that section. So you decide where you want to start with the report, but it's extremely comprehensive. So this was the first person who went through it when I was beta testing this this would have been around October time last year, so October 2025. And they said, I wish I had done this 6 to 8 months ago. We paid a brand consultant. Now, they said it was 4,000 or 5,000. I decided to round it down so as not to overstate it. But we paid a brand consultant £4,000 to do this. My e-newsletter price was £60, 60. And what you've just guided me through is so comprehensive. It feels as though it's pulling information from various sources and is trained in marketing speak. That, combined with your expertise, Marilyn, is surprisingly good. It's impressive. And this is a CEO from London. And with regards to the brand consultant that they brought in, they were very happy with the brand consultant. And the brand consultant was there for 5 days, physically in their office. And as I said, it was, around about £5,000, so £1,000 a day. That's fantastic. And they said what we produced in an hour and a half for the princely sum at that point of £60. They said they could use it straight out the gate, straight off the shelf. With the brand consultant, they had to go back and retrofit a few things and tweak it and change it and make some adjustments so that it sounded like them, was in their voice. They said the report that we produced sounded just like them, and they could use it straight out the gate, which is absolutely amazing. So super quick, very detailed. So that's the first one. So that's the feedback from the pillar number one, let's call it, the brand accelerator report and playbook. And this is going to be something that keeps on giving. One of the things that is really fascinating is when you do the competitor analysis, because what this will do, it will go and crawl the websites of the competitors that you suggest. And there's also the, I'm going to call it the inspiration analysis as well, where you're looking at organizations that you're inspired by, and it does a breakdown as them as well. It gives a comparison. And when you look at the SWOT for your competitors, I just did a demo one last year when I was testing it out myself. And it's so funny. I put in somebody big from the industry. I just thought, let me just see what they say. Cause I, work with this person. I know a bit about how they operate, etc. And it came back and said, and this was last year in October, that in terms of the SWOT analysis, the opportunity that it saw for them is to pivot away from the course element that they were doing and really get into coaching, the one-to-one coaching and real specialist coaching. I think they announced it in January. Was it in January, December, January, or this year, that they were retiring, as in no longer running their course-based program, and they were going into the coaching field. And I didn't notice that until I went back about 2 weeks ago, and I was looking through my report because I wanted an idea for something, and I was like, oh my God, it said that in their SWOT analysis before they had announced it to the world. So that was really interesting, really interesting. So that's the feedback for that particular report. Right. So this is someone who, let's see, what are we going to look at next? I only get a tiny window, so I can't see them all. I have to scroll for a bit. Okay, let me show you this one. This is, I think, the second person who did the report. Now, it just so happens they were in the midst of finally creating their new website for their business, which are working on right now. So we did the report, and they've got GoDaddy are building their site for them. So what they did is they sent this 52 plus page report to GoDaddy. As I said, it's very clearly laid out. And what the report does, it even goes into brand colors. It even goes into the font that it would recommend for the business and the energy that you're bringing forwards, and then the energy that fits with your brand archetypes, etc. And they gave the whole report to GoDaddy. And then the person from GoDaddy went through it, and they came back and said, Marilyn, the expert at GoDaddy said it was an excellent report. And it was, and the excellent was twice. So that's just one of the ways you can use it. Of course, you use it for your marketing, you use it for your branding, you use it for your competitor analysis and all of those wonderful things. But this is another way that you can use it. So this is how they used it with regards to the report that was produced. Okay, what should we look at next? Let us go to, I think we're going to go to the, yes. Let's go to the business. I think, let me just see what this, I think this is one I think it is. Yes. The business in a box strategy readings. So I was beta testing these a couple of weeks ago. Again, I did free sessions for people on my e-newsletter list. This was a feedback from one of the people that did the session. They said, wow, it's clean, it's clear, it gets to the point. What I have received is amazing, and there is so much to action. I can nail it now and move over this hurdle, because you can ignore it. It says join us tonight. This was the promo that I'd used previously, because I did two on different days, because just to give people a bit of choice, day of the week, times, etc. They were stuck with something. It was creating a block and a hurdle that they had not been able to get beyond. And with the business in a box strategy readings that we did, boom, just blew it out of the water. And they also said they've been struggling to write a manifesto for the bigger vision that they have for their business. And with what we did with the business in a box strategy readings, they can just go and nail it now. So it's now just a case of putting into action all of the things that came from that, which is amazing. And, they also said, wow, amazing. I hear that a lot. So that's that one. Let's see. So that's the business in a box strategy session. Let me show you, actually, I think I've got an image here of what those cards that we use look like for that. There we go. That is the one. And so it is And again, they said of these, of this, they said of this, they said, Marilyn, the answers that you gave and the strategies that were given by the cards sounded like it was written by a brand agency, a marketing agent. I said that is because it was, and it is. The cards, the decks themselves. Whereas, let's say, like it's Tarot Tuesday today, so I've just finished the Tarot Tuesday reading, so I've got all the cards here. These decks typically, they're about 15-20 pounds. The business in a box strategy decks, they start at £109 per deck, and typically they're £125 per deck, because it is a collection of specialists and experts in their field, and they condense these strategies down so you get them on two sides of a card. So absolutely amazing. So that's what they look like on the right. And also for people who might be thinking about how do they articulate themselves, how do they use their voice more powerfully, there's about 6 different decks that we can use, so depending on whether this one happens to be the copywriting deck, but there's one for innovation, there's one if you're putting workshops together, for example, there's one for branding. So you decide what the challenges that you want to focus on, and then that's the deck we will choose. We work with that both practically and intuitively, so that one's a really nice blend. And then the cards that I can see on my left, you might see it reversed, those are the cards for using your voice more powerfully, public speaking, getting your voice heard, getting your message heard. So again, it depends what you're bringing to the table, in terms of where we will put our focus and the decks that we will actually choose, what the cards actually look like, just to give you a visual of that. And one of the things I will just say about this whole process, this is tailored exclusively for you. Seriously, it is so, I think that's why people keep saying, wow, amazing, oh my God, spot on, because it's about them, just about them. And I don't know about you, and I've done some really great trainings, great courses, amazing. And some of the things you might find yourself doing, it's following a strategy that someone else followed. Now, they did it very successfully, but not everybody can replicate that. Not everybody can create the same impact with their funnel, for example, or with this particular process, because it's about the other person. This one is everything we do is specifically tailored for you, your business, your brand, your business name. Everything is tailored, which is one of the things I would say that makes it super duper unique, and why people are just so blown away, with regards to how it all works. So let's see. Okay, let me show you. Now, as I said, it doesn't look like. Oh, actually, let's go here first of all. What's this one? Oh, yes. So this is the business name soul plan reading. Now, this is one that people haven't heard of the business strategy in a box either, but this is one that people definitely often haven't heard of. It's your business name soul plan reading. So you might have heard me talk about the personal soul plan readings, which is on your birth name. Been doing those since 2013. You can also do the same for the name of your business. That's it. So the person here, she's given me permission to share this and share her name, which is why I've kind of got a copy of her email here. And all they did was give me the name of the business, 3 words, The Lighthouse, nothing else. That was it. And then I did the business name soul plan report based on the name. And there's 3 different facets. So it presents, if you look at the document, I'll show it to you in a minute. I'll partially show it to you in a minute, but it's a triangle. So we just did one part of that triangle, the foundation part. We didn't go into the talents and goals, etc. But they said, I'm going to lean forward slightly. So I asked a series of questions afterwards. So I said, what's your first impression? Wow, spot on, so accurate. And they said, yes, it's been very useful as a highlight of where I should focus my energies. Because that's the thing, when you've got all of these great ideas coming at you, particularly now with the advent of ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, etc., you're not short on ideas. It's which of the ideas do you implement, what's critical, what's mission critical. So they said they now know where to focus their energies. They said I was asking, does it make sense? They said the whole, report makes absolute sense. And I think I have the 15.6 in my personal soul plan too. So I dig it out and check. Now, I wasn't cross-referencing with the personal name soul plan and the business name soul plan, but I did go back and have a look when I got this email. And sure enough, they're absolutely correct. They got the 15.6 in their personal name, which is a good thing because it means the name that they've chosen has an element of them in it. So, and when it's not if it's in a challenge position, there are some things to resolve, but that's a good thing. I was then talking about, was it helpful? So they said it's really helpful, and it's given me the kick up the proverbial that I needed, exclamation mark. And then I said, how would you describe it overall? And they said accurate, helpful, enlightening, reassuring, and practical. And that was just from the name of their business. That was it. That was it. So let me show you. Let me just give you a little look-see into what it actually looks like, what we're talking about here. Because one of the things I did, I thought, okay, let's choose a business that's very much in the public domain and that many people are talking about at the moment, which is ChatGPT. Now, people might look at this and go, oh, you created it using ChatGPT. No, I did not. The business name soul plan readings, I basically do those by hand. So there's a computer program that you can use to produce the triangle, let's say. And then from there, I look at the energy. And with the demo reports that I was doing, I have got about 8 more to do because more people than I anticipated volunteered. So if you volunteered, I'm working through those. But what I then do is I sit and I write it. I literally write it. I look at the energy of, we were looking at the foundation, which is also the challenge aspect for the volunteer reports for my e-newsletter, people on my e-newsletter list. And then I sat and I used my fingers and I typed. I typed those reports. So I chose, but what I did is I thought, well, let me choose a company that's in the public domain that everybody seems to be talking about at the moment. So this is the soul plan, business name soul plan for ChatGPT. It wasn't written by ChatGPT. It is for ChatGPT. So the triangle that you can see behind that writing, that's the typical triangle that we start off with. And then underneath the triangle, it breaks down into 6 different key areas. But with the demos that I'm doing the foundation. But with this one, I had a quick overview and a quick look at all of the aspects for ChatGPT as a business name. And so there's a limiting beliefs section, which one of the things that really stood out to me as I was going through this one is I can't trust myself and I am evil. Now, one of the things that was happening with ChatGPT, initially, people were often using it and not checking. So it wasn't completely accurate. They were also saying that ChatGPT behind the scenes had some sort of nefarious intent. So it's just really kind of interesting to see that. One of the things also that really stood out to me, because I've been having that conversation recently, is I need you to help me grow. And the case is still ongoing actually with regards to authors and the debate about ChatGPT using authors' works without credited them, without giving them the acknowledgement, and that is a case that's rumbling through at the moment. So initially and still ChatGPT is relying on us to give it information to help it grow, but that in itself was causing a bit of a problem. So, it's just very interesting. And, many people have expressed concerns about where both AI and the LLMs, the large language models, are going and where they're heading. So just looking through the limiting beliefs and the challenge factors that AI, and in this specific case, ChatGPT, will need to overcome was really very interesting. We've then got the foundations and challenges. Initially may have learning difficulties, where we've just talked about that in terms of, okay, where is it sourcing this data? And if people are pushing back or saying, no, you're not accessing my data, where is the information going to be come from? Let me just see if I can move myself. Actually, I might have to put us side by side for a second, just so you can see. the red triangle bit. So initially may have learning difficulties, prone to ups and downs, may experience bipolar disorder. Now, the reason I found that very interesting is there were times where the technical term is hallucination. So if any of you have taught, so I'm a mental health first aid trainer, and during lockdown, we had a target to train 1,000 mental health first aiders in Watford, which is a town where I live. So I was one of the instructors working alongside in partnership with the Chamber of Commerce. It was funded by the lottery at that point. That was Camelot. And so when you talk about bipolar, you also talk about hallucinations can be part of that. So it was very interesting to see that in the Chat GPT Soul Plan name, because many people would find that it doesn't do it quite so much now. It's come along a long way, but many people were finding that Chat GPT was hallucinating, which would be the AI version of bipolar. And so it was really, really interesting, and it was giving conflicting answers. So that whole thing about the initial challenges, the learning difficulties, was very much what we saw when we were observing the early stages of Chat GPT. Right, I'll make it a bit larger now. There's then the facet of the abilities. So it says ChatGPT as an organization, in terms of the energy held by this name, is good at business, very futuristic in their thinking, take any opportunity to teach and share knowledge in any setting. Now you think about it, ChatGPT is being used pretty much everywhere. It's being used for consulting. It's being used for marketing. It's being used for copywriting. It's even being used for coaching and therapy. And I was speaking to someone today who said they had this really vivid dream, and immediately their partner, I wouldn't have thought of doing this, but their partner put the dream into Chat GPT, and it asked Chat GPT to analyze the dream, and it did. And they said it did a pretty good job. I've also heard of lawyers using Chat GPT. Now, I think a couple have just come a cropper, as we'd say here in the UK. Because they had cited some references and cases that actually didn't exist. Again, ChatGPT had kind of hallucinated those. But for those of you who have it on a device, it's learning, it's teaching and sharing knowledge everywhere, 24 hours a day, 365 days per year, in settings we're probably not even aware of or thinking about. So when I look at the abilities of ChatGPT and the energy that it holds, it very much is like that, because it's been used in all areas of life. It's been used in all areas of business, and we're just scratching the surface at the moment. And then we've got the success part of the triangle. So with ChatGPT, the energy held by the name is very goal orientated and successful. They know they have the power and capabilities inside to follow through and make things happen. And primarily, they are here in terms of teaching and being of service. And that is very much what ChatGPT is doing. People are learning from ChatGPT, and it is providing services which previously, just think about it. I mean, there was something called it was Manus, and I was testing it out a few months ago. Well, I think it was towards the end of last year, and Manus claimed it could create a website in a few minutes. I was like, okay, go on then. So basically almost gave it no information. I've still got the link to the website somewhere. If I find it, I'll put it into the comments or in the description if you're watching this on YouTube. And the way, oh my God, I put the information in, a little bit of information, who I am, my name, blah, blah. It built the website in about 5 minutes, and it's actually better than my website. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And there are people now, what's the term, vibe coding. There are people who have AI assistants. So it is being of service in a variety of ways, and it is teaching things that somebody else had said. Because I was saying also today when we were having this conversation about the dream analysis, I said, well, one of the things I think about with the photo reading, the accelerated learning, somebody can now just say, summarize XYZ book, and in this case, Chat GPT would go, cool, yeah, boom, 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 bang, in about 60 seconds. I'm like, wow, where does that leave us? Now, where it leaves us, of course, is a human element. And some of you have heard me talk about, I said this a good year and a half ago. I said what I felt when I was using Chat GPT. I said I felt as though my brain was smooth. And what I meant by that was your brain has all of those little, it's let's just call it wrinkly for the sake of another term. And you've got all of those neurons, those connections, those deep folds, etc. And I said, when I was using Chat GPT, the best analogy I could give it, it felt like, I think in America you call it saran wrap. Here we call it cling film. But it almost felt as though I'd put cling film over my brain. So the information was kind of sliding off. It wasn't integrating in the way that it would if I had been photo reading and activating. And I just surmised that. And then about a year later, there was a study by, I believe it was Harvard, and it was talking about cognitive load. And it was saying that people who were relying on Chat GPT were not using their brain as effectively. And I was like, there, I knew it. So I know there's still a place for the human nuances and activating the brain and learning about left and right brain integration and your learning styles and all of that. But for the, let's say, top end surface level stuff, if you're not going majorly deep, it's doing all of these things and so much more. So that's like a breakdown of the things that we look at in the full business name soul plan reading. You don't get it in that format. You get it as a written report at the moment. I just put this together so that, because looking at a written report would be quite boring, maybe not. I don't know. So that's the soul plan business name. So we've talked about the brand accelerator report and playbook, talked about the business strategy in a box readings, talked about the business name soul plan reading. Now, the other one is the archetypes. So let me put this up first. And then I'll take those down. Actually, let me just put all of these up so I have them nearer the front for the stat. Alrighty, so some of you may have heard me talk about the $700 million mistake. $700 million. That is the number, the actual number. And this was an organization who did something that went against brand, that went against type. And I would say it went against the archetype. And I would even go so far as to say, when I'm talking about the brand clarity side of things, it also went against the soul of the business. And the business was Cracker Barrel. And they changed their logo. And it was a part of a $700 million rebrand. Oh my God. Their customers were vocal. And they voted with their feet and they let them know with their mouths, and they got onto the keyboard on social media, and it was an absolute crap storm. And they bought it like they'd had a new CEO come in and be at the helm of this $700 million rebrand. Oh my God. So this raged on. And eventually, and very quickly, actually, within a couple of weeks, Cracker Barrel retreated, and they came out with an announcement and that they're going to take all the old logos down, and the original logo was going back up. So that's what I mean when I talk about the $700 million mistake. That's in the words of Julia Roberts, big mistake. It was major. That's a lot of money. And people often think, well, that's the sort of thing that can only happen to a large organization. Oh, no. This can happen to smaller organizations. So you can have your own version of the $700 million mistake. And the sad thing is you probably won't even know it, because people will not be as vocal as they were with Cracker Barrel. All you'll know that things are sliding, things are not working, things are not landing, things have gone quiet. And so one of the things that we do with regards to, let's make this larger. So one of the components, this is from the Brand Accelerator report, we look at your business archetypes, and we look at how you utilize those business archetypes so that when you're speaking authentically, and you're speaking to the people who resonate with those archetypes, rather than having the Cracker Barrel effect where people are angry because the business doesn't represent what it says it represents and doesn't do what it says it does. And so we will identify your archetypes. And one of the things we'll do as part of this process is drill down more deeply into your primary archetype. So in this particular report, the very first one I did, where the client had paid the brand consultant £5,000, I think they identified, 4 or 5 archetypes. So you can choose. I'd say don't go mad and have all of them because then they're all watered down. But we go through a process, and then eventually it identifies the archetypes which are your strongest archetypes, and you can say yes or no. But oftentimes people go, "Oh my god, yes, that's spot on." And so what I'll do is then a deeper dive into your primary archetype and give you some more insights and nuances and facets from that, from the field of archetypal profiling and archetypal branding. That's something I've been doing since 2005, and that's the thing with all of the pillars. This is the first time I'm putting them all together in this way and doing it synergistically. But with regards to the archetypal profiling and the archetypal branding, I've been an archetypal profiling consultant and archetypal branding coach since 2005. I've been doing the soul plan reading since November 2013. I've been a coach and therapist since October 2000, so 25 and a half years at this point. I've been a management consultant since 2003. And at university, I did a business degree and I did a postgraduate marketing diploma with the Chartered Institute of Marketing. So that was way back in the day, good 30 or so years ago. So I've always loved marketing. And actually, one of the things that I would say, because I was talking to someone a few weeks ago about marketing and how much it's changed, but how much it's also stayed the same. And the Bible, when I did my business studies degree, was Philip Kotler. Many of the things that are in that blue Philip Kotler book, which is about that thick, are still the same today. The SWOT analysis, ADA, competitor analysis, the 4Ps, they're exactly the same. Now, back in that day, AI didn't exist. We didn't have mobile phones. We didn't have computers. There was no Snapchat. There was no Facebook. But the fundamentals of marketing and the fundamentals of branding and the fundamentals of positioning and the fundamentals of psychographics and customer analysis, client analysis, competitor analysis, all of those things are still the same. And that report that you get breaks it down in glorious technicolor, and you just go to the section that you want. So that's all of the pillars that are within it. And then the way it all comes together, let's see, where's that image? Oh, there we go. It's the one. That's the droid that you're looking for. And so, yeah, this is basically it. This is how it all comes together. So you've got the brand accelerator blueprint and playbook. You've got your business name soul plan reading. You've got the business in a box strategy session, which is tailored around the area that you are having a challenge with, where you want some clarity, where you want some insight, where you want some expert strategies. And then we bring into that also the piece with the archetype, where we do a deeper dive in the archetype. And the way that this is all presented, because that sounds like a lot, and it is, if you were having to do this yourself, this could take you years to do. I'm not kidding. And even just think about it. If you were to do a real deep dive SWOT analysis just of yourself, your own business, just think about how long that would take. And then if you're going to scope out 2 or 3 competitors, how long would that take? And then if you're going to do some aspirational analysis, how long would that take? If you're going to write some ADA strategies, how long would that take? If you're going to do some SEO, how long would that? Seriously, when you think about all these components, you could be doing this for months, even years. I know that because it's what I used to do. So that was part of my job. So you could, but with this, the thing I love about this, we're condensing it down. Now, the condensing it down doesn't mean it's not powerful, because you've already heard from the client who had a consultant in for 5 days and paid them $5,000, and we did it in 90 minutes. So in terms of the business name soul plan reading, that's a manual process. I'm doing that behind the scenes. In terms of the brand accelerator report, we do that together. So part of this, I guess the 5th pillar, or the bit that sits in the middle of it all, is a private one-to-one consultancy session. So we do that typically via Zoom, and we're building the report together. So your part, I do the majority of the heavy lifting. Your part, when you sign up, you get a questionnaire, and it literally is 20 questions. And some of them are, what's your business name? Because I'm going to use that for the business name soul plan report, for example. Why do you do what you do? Where did you get started? Who are 3 of your main competitors? What are your aspirational brands? What are your values? Those sorts of things. That part is firstly manual for you. Manual for me in terms of I'm collating that data as we're going through. So some of it I can backfill once you send the questionnaire back to me. And then there are parts that we're actually building together, because there are some aspects that, based on what you previously said, that's where the next part of the data comes from. So that part is a combination of you answering those questions, me doing that and maybe answer you some clarity questions, all the rest of it, some consultancy style. And then it gets fed into a specialist AI modeling program. And that's the bit that then goes and crawls the sites that you've given it, crawls your websites, give you your lighthouse scores, your SEO scores, and all of those sorts of things. So it's partially AI powered. And this is where the client who had paid the £5,000 to the consultant said the report that we produced, it felt like it was in marketing speak. It was specialist. That's because it is. So it's not just chat GPT in a wrapper. So that bit has the AI component to it, which is how we can do it in 90 minutes instead of 5 days. The business in a box strategy session, that's also part of that Zoom process where you'll say, okay, what's the area that you really want to delve into, or where are you having a particular challenge, or where do you want some inspiration? And that's where we will then do the business strategy in a box session. So, as I said, the heavy lifting is basically done by me. And then with the archetypes piece, again, I do that behind the scenes. Once we've identified your kind of primary and secondary archetypes as part of the brand accelerator process, I will then go away and do a deeper dive into your primary archetype. So your input is however long it takes you to answer those 20 questions. And then the hour and a half, I'd say, look, it was an hour and a half. The reason I was beta testing is like, how long are each of these components going to take? So it was an hour and a half to do the brand accelerator report. When I was doing the business in a box, because we were going to town and I was just testing out the various ways that we can choose the cars. We can do it very practically by using the index. We can do it very intuitively in the same way I do my Tarot Tuesday readings, for example, or it could be a combination of those. So that took about an hour, but in real life, it's probably going to be, 20 to 30 minutes. Then going through the highlights, because you'll get the written report for the business name soul plan. That's probably going to be another 20, 30 minutes. So I'm thinking that your input will be the time it takes you to fill out the 20 questions and about 2.5 to 3 hours. And that 2.5 to 3 hours will give you data and information that you can continue to use for years to come. Because unless you change the name, the information that you glean from the business name soul plan will continue to deliver. And I've had clients who have done their personal birth name soul plan readings, and they'll go back to that soul plan report 2 years later, 5 years later, even 10 years later, and it still speaks to them, because it's almost like a living and breathing document. It's not just about a snapshot in time. It's about the entirety of the name, the person, the human, or in this case, the entirety and lifespan of the business. So it's very interesting when people go back to the soul plan years later and they'll go, oh my God, or they'll say, when you did the soul plan reading, that was interesting, but then suddenly they go back and read it years later, like, oh my God, this is exactly where I am. And that part of the soul plan leaps out at them. So that I know you can use it. If you had your business for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, you could continue to use that information. So yeah. So it's deep. But for you, it's like the iceberg. You're involved in the tip of the iceberg, and then there's all the other stuff and all the other work that goes on behind the scenes. And that is the reason why, there are often people with the scarcity thing, and I've only got 2 of these, genuinely, because of the work that is required outside of this. So, for example, when I wrote the business name soul plan for Kate, that took about 3 hours. Now, part of that time is me going, do I want to say it in that way, or can I say it in a better way, or what about this and what about that? And then going, okay, but then there's this and then there's that. And that was just one part. Now, of course, it's going to get faster and faster and faster, because I've got about 8 more of these to do. So I'll be refining it down. But I'm guesstimating for me to do all 3 pillars is going to be a good 3 hours. To go through the questionnaire, that's going to be a good hour or so, and to start backfilling. To do the archetypes piece, that's going to be a similar amount of time, a good hour, hour and a half. And then, of course, the session that we do together is 2.5 hours. So I'm reckoning it's going to probably be about a minimum about 10 hours worth of work per person, which is why I'm only going to do 3 or 4, maybe 5 of these per month, if that depends what else I'm doing and how that all slots in. So yeah, but that is what it is. Those are the individual pillars that make up the business clarity code. And when you put this thing together, it's an absolute powerhouse. So I'm really, really excited to get started with these. The page is currently under construction because so much of it is so new to people. As I said, it's not new to me, but it's new to other people. And it's never been put together in this way before. I don't know of anything that covers all of these aspects in this much depth and detail and in this compressed amount of time, but still delivers something vast. So that's why it's like, I'm going to have to limit these and see. And it might be, there are times where I will launch something, I'll do it, it's amazing. And then once I've done it, I've done it. I don't need to do it again. And it floats away and never to return. Or it might be another 5, 10, 15 years before I do it again. So this could be that. But I just thought, what a beautiful thing to be able to do in the world that is so super duper noisy now, and where now more than ever, oh God, when you say the word, it sounds a bit like it sounds a bit trite and a bit, marketing speaky. Nothing wrong with marketing speak, but you know what I mean. But when you say about being authentic and having your authentic voice and da da da, it sounds a bit like yeah, platitude is. But I can't think of another way to say it, because even if you're not really watching AI and participating that much, you've probably heard the term AI slop. And I was listening to a video this morning, two women who are in sales, and they were saying how unusual it is for women to be in sales and to, dominate the space and da 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 da. And one of them was saying there are influencers that she used to follow, really respects. And she says nowadays she finds that she's turning off within 5-10 minutes, because they've put something into AI and they're literally just reading she said, so it's just not even them. It's almost like it's a shell of them, because they've fallen into that trap already. And so it's really very interesting. So when you come across as authentically you, and when you're living and breathing everything that your brand, everything that your business, the soul of the business, the energy of the business, the vibe of the business is about, it's an absolute game changer. And you feel different as well, because you're like, yeah, this is it. And I remember the first time I was introduced to the archetypes in 2005, I did my archetypal profile and it came out as the, in terms of what I'd be ideally, how the energies that were really great to have in my business would be the the magician, the sage, and the jester. Now, transformations, that was about magical transformations, and my logo has always been the water drop, where back at, for the first 9 or so years I was in practice, I just did 1-day breakthrough sessions where I work with someone for a day, we sort out their life, and the ripple effect of that continues cascading out into their life for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years to come. And that's actually proven to be true, because people have come back to me 10 years after we did a 1-day breakthrough session, start at 10 in the morning, finish at 5. And they said, Marilyn, the effects of that 1-day breakthrough session are still rippling throughout my entire life. And I hadn't spoken to them at all for the previous 10 years after doing that 1-day breakthrough session. So that's pretty magical. I also even, for example, ran a magic and gratitude program, and I ran that that was in 2013. So the magical bit. Now the sage bit about learning, knowledge, wisdom. I've been a certified photo reading instructor since March 2002. Photo reading is how to photo read at 25,000 words per minute, take on information, getting through whole books in 5 minutes, and then remembering, recalling what you've read. So that's that real sage energy. And as you can see, the books behind me, I love books, I love information, I love knowledge and learning. And then the jester, and this is a decision I made when I started doing the 1-day breakthrough session, because people were coming with big stuff they'd never told another human being, and stuff that has devastated their life, eaten away at their soul. I started off doing work around sexual abuse, for example, and people who were contemplating suicide or had survived a suicide attempt, because that was where my background was and what I had been through myself. That's heavy stuff, potentially. Oh my God, how we would laugh in those sessions. We had so much fun. And that was part of the session, because they would catch themselves and they couldn't believe they were laughing at something which previously had filled them with shame or guilt or frustration or anger or sadness, etc. Suddenly, it's got a lightness to it. It no longer weighs them down. And there's almost like laughing through the tears. It was just amazing. And so when I started doing that in the year 2000, October 2000, I didn't see the archetypes even though they existed until 2005. So it was a retro look, but I was like, oh my God, that is totally what I'm doing. And that explains why I love it so much and why it's just so amazing. So yeah, so and it's one of those things. It's unseen, and I looked up. I said to Google, well, why would anybody even want to spend anything on marketing and branding? And even Google came back and said, it's vital. It's still vital. In amongst all of the things that we're doing, I actually put the Google response on the page. But the page, as I was saying, is under construction because I know this stuff inside out. I could just go, yeah, it's what this pillar we're doing. We're looking, you're going to get your brand accelerator report, number one. And then number two, you're going to get your business name sold plan. And then number three, we'll do the business in a box strategy reading. And then number four, we'll look at your primary and secondary business archetypes. And I know what that means, but somebody might look at it and go, well, what the hell is that? Why would I want to do that? And so the page is getting longer and shorter, because I'm not quite sure yet how much explanation people will need in order for it to click and go, oh my God, totally got to do that. And being able to do it in less than 3 hours, that's just like freaking amazing. So the page is under construction. So each time you look at it, it's probably going to look slightly different. And I go, no, too wordy, haven't explained it enough. And, so yeah, we'll see. We will see. And I'll probably have to do a couple of maybe 2 to 3 minute videos as well. Not everybody's going to want to sit and watch this sort of video. But yeah, but that's it in a nutshell. So if you have any questions or queries, do let me know. You can ping me a DM or, put your comments in the chat description, etc. Well, in the chat, not in the description. And I will then add those to the Q&A page as I get them, because maybe then that's what will happen eventually. The page will get shorter and shorter and shorter, but then it will be condensed down into the Q&A. So you just go to that question, like, how is the program delivered? Well, part of it is delivered online. The rest of it, I'll do that work beforehand, and you'll receive the PDF reports, playbook, etc. So that's it in a nutshell. That is the business clarity code. I don't think there's anything like it in the world at the moment. And yeah, that's one of my things. When I did my own report, it was talking about being innovative, transformative, leading edge, all the rest of it. And that's one of the things that excites me about, what happens if you put this and this and this and this and this together, almost like tinkering in a little magical workshop. And then the results of that are exponential and just mind-blowing, because each pillar has been mind-blowing in and of its own right. So when we put them together, that is where it's going to be like, whoa. So that's it. Now, my question is, who do you know who would be a good fit for this? And also with regards to, actually, let me pull that up. I think I've still got those images in here. Let me have a look, see. I'll take that one down. Yeah, and one thing I actually did do is I asked ChatGPT. Oh, I need more water. I asked GPT, I put the page in and I, gave a little explanation of the 4 pillars. I said, what should I charge? And ChatGPT said, 3 to, at least 3, but ideally 5 to 6,000 pounds, which will be, $7,000-8,000. I was like, yeah, it sounds about right in terms of if the client paid £5,000 just for one pillar, what would you charge for all 4 pillars? And many of which are unique. Like there aren't many people who do the business name soul plan readings, for example. However, we're in beta test and I'm now testing the best format. Does it matter which order? I don't think it matters which order we do it. So for one person, we might do the business soul plan name first and then the brand accelerator report and then the business in a box, blah, blah, blah. For somebody else, we might start with the brand accelerator report first and then do, so we're experimenting to see which is the best fit. So in terms of the pricing, for those of you who are booking during the pre-launch, it is 397. If you're coming in after that, because there's a limited, as I said, this is not something that is going to be just kind of churning out. There'll be 3 to 5 of these available per month. So once those first pre-launch slots are gone, it will be a 597. And then once we're getting into the rhythm and flow of it, where it's like, yeah, we're good, we're motoring now. When we're getting towards the end of the launch, it will be 997. But for those of you who are booking at the moment, if you're watching this in real time, today's the 5th of May 2026, the magical month of May. And I'm also doing my birthday bonanza, as I typically do the month of May. So for those of you who want something a bit more personal, there is up to 83% off my one-to-one tarot readings. I did a whole video about that in my last stream a couple of days ago, so do check that out. And it's 50, how old am I? It's going to be, yes, it's my birthday month. So it's 58% off general public. And if you're in my Facebook group and you're a lifetime member, then you get your additional 25% off that price, etc. So both of the URLs, I should say, are going across the ticker tape. So marilyn-devonish.thrivecart/the-business-clarity-code. So that's that's if you want to check out the business clarity code. And also let me know which sections that are currently there resonate and which feel like, don't need to know, that hasn't really said much. And then for the special offers, it's marilyn-devonish.thrivecart.com/special-offer-last call. The offers will change throughout the month. So once the tarot comes down, that will be deleted, and then I'll put a different offer up. And I thought this year that I would do normally it's on the online stuff and the on-demand stuff. I thought this year we do some of the birthday bonanza offers for the one-to-one readings and sessions, etc. So watch this space. I haven't decided what's going to be added next, so we shall see. But if you want to do the business clarity code 397, there's a couple of the 397 spots left, then 597, then 997. And it'll be obvious from the page what's there, because if it's grayed out, you just have to use the next one after that. All right. So if you know, who do you know who would be a good fit? Please feel free to give them my details, send them this information. That would be amazing. And if it sounds like a good fit for you then, and you got any questions, let me know. And if not, snap up one of the places and let's do, I'm going to say, a good, at least a year's worth of work in about 3 hours, and breaking it down in a way that boom, 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 you can just use it straight out of the gate, implement it, put it into action, and run with it. For me, that's what it's all about. It's not about, we are inundated with information. It's not about information. It's about the application of information, having it really specific and targeted in terms of where your pain points are and the things that you want to focus on. So I look forward to working with you. What I will do also is I'll add some of this information. I think it's already up there for the clarity code. I don't know that I've added the birthday bonanza stuff yet, but I will do. So you can always go to my legacy website. It's transformationstm.com, TRANCE, F for Freddie, FORMATIONS, TM.com. And it's as old as it looks. It was built in 2001. So it's basically a legacy archive of the things that I've done and things I've been involved in over the last 26 years. So I've left it that way as like a little reminder that I didn't just pop up yesterday and create a shiny AI site. So it's as old as it looks for that reason. But if you click the red What's New button, a panel will slide out and then you'll see the latest stuff that's happening. Now that gets updated every, 6 weeks or so. For real-time stuff, then sign up for my e-newsletter list. So when you go to transformationstm.com, actually, let me see if I can find the there's so much in here. I have to clear out some of these photos actually. So I was just looking for the banner that I had that has the spelling, because it's an unusual spelling. Dun, dun, dun. Wherefore art thou banner? Oh, that one will do. Right, it's magnified up, so it's not the best in terms of resolution, but you get the gist. You're going to get the gist. So let me just reduce that down. Take that off. All right, so there we have it. That's the one I was looking for. So it's transformationstm.com, TRANCE. It's play on words. I'm a hypnotherapist. So TRANCE, F for Freddie, FORMATIONS, TM.com. Click the red What's New panel button. The panel will slide out and then have a little bit of a scroll. But the newest things automatically go to the top. And if you fancy experiencing the magical, the transformational, the life, and this time business changing ripple effect, then you know what to do. And so thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. And And thank you also to my beta testers for doing the proof of concept. I already know it works. I already know it's amazing. And it's really great to not just be in my head and go, yeah, this is great, to go out there and use it with other people. So thank you so much to the beta testers and to the volunteers for being willing to share your results. So yeah, that's cool. And I haven't yet released the video of the business in a box strategy sessions, but the person that I filmed for one of them, they said they're happy for it to be released, because they said if it's going to help another person and they think it will, then feel free to release it, even though they had not done their hair, because they weren't anticipating where it was going to go and how it was going to go. So initially I said, oh no, I said, I'll just send you the recording, I won't share it with anyone else. I went, no, it's fine, feel free to share it. So I will. I'll probably edit, because we were just chatting about some other stuff. So I'll probably edit out the stuff where we're just having a chat, but I'll put the essentials in, or I'll, clip some bits. So keep an eye on my YouTube channel or wherever you're watching this, and I will post that soon. Well, wishing you a fantabulous rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening. Here is to a magical, miracle filled, miraculous month of May and beyond. Marilyn Devonish, the Neuro Success Coach, Rapid Transformation Specialist, and Futurist from transformationstm.com, over and out. And I really look forward to working with you. Jump on this one while you have the opportunity, because I really have no idea how long it's going to be available. So catch it while you can.